How you doing? My name is Dave. I'm your host. You're listening to The Last Podcast, where the first shall be last and the last shall be first. If this is your first time listening, welcome. I want to say thank you for finding us. If you're returning, welcome back. I appreciate you listening, and I hope you continue to find tips, ideas, and value from listening to this podcast. Today, I'm going to talk about how not to give into temptation. But before I do, we'll be right back after this message. Hi, my name is Dave with The Last Podcast. Have you ever heard of Impact Health Sharing? Impact Health Sharing is an affordable alternative to traditional health insurance. Impact is a caring community of people who share in each other's medical bills, and is for anyone interested in sharing, acting responsibly together, and saving on healthcare. For more information, click on the link in the show notes that reads Impact Health Sharing. This is David with The Last Podcast. We'll see you soon. Okay, so we're back and we're talking about how not to give in to temptation. And, resisting temptation can be challenging, but with some strategies and self-discipline, it's possible to stay on track. Today, I want to talk about some tips to help you avoid giving into temptation. I've given in many times in my life, and I'm quite sure you probably have given into something, whether it was food, whether it's love, whatever the case may be. So the first thing I want to talk about is identifying triggers. If we're able to recognize the situation, environments, or emotions that typically lead to temptation, we can understand our triggers that can help us anticipate and prepare for them. We need to pretty much set goals. Define your long-term and short-term goals and remind yourself of them regularly. And knowing what you want to achieve can pretty much help you give a good reason to resist temptation. Especially, you got to have there is a reason to be tempted, but there's also a reason not to be tempted, or I should say, better yet, not to give into temptation. So in order to do that, we're going to go to self-awareness. We have to be able to be mindful of our thoughts, emotions, whatever we might be triggered by, or when you notice temptation is creeping in, pause and acknowledge it without judgment. But being able to be mindful that you're being triggered. Something is there and you don't want to give in to that temptation. So you want to create a supportive environment. Surround yourself with people who share your values and your goals. Inform them about your intentions and what you're trying to achieve. And basically, you can provide, or they can help you with encouragement and help you stay accountable. But it's not easy. This is when you're talking about not giving into temptation, even in relationships. Some people are trying to not have sex and end the relationship, but then they go back to having sex, or whatever the case may be. Or temptation in having that next drink. You're trying to stop drinking. So you want to definitely, get away from bars and not put yourself in a position where you're around friends or people that you know who normally drink. These are triggers, so you want to keep yourself out of certain situations. Avoid the temptation when possible. If you know certain situations and places are likely to trigger your temptation, avoid it altogether. And I think that is the best advice I can actually give you as far as being around a certain temptation, and you know that you have a small weakness for whatever it is that you're trying to stay away from. Develop coping strategies. Find your healthy ways to cope with stress and negative emotions. Engage in activities that make you feel good, like exercise, hobbies, or just simply spend time with loved ones. Can also help. You want to practice, and I've done this a couple of times. Practice delayed gratification. Train yourself to resist immediate satisfaction or long-term rewards. And for instance, why I say that is, I used to be a smoker. Every morning I got up, I had to brush my teeth, and the first thing I had to do after that was go have a cigarette. So delayed gratification is going to say, okay, go ahead, brush my teeth. Now go do something else. Instead of have the cigarette, go do something else. And my triggers, and I'm just trying to break this down for you, what my triggers was. Every time I got in my car, I had to have a cigarette. Every time I ate, I had to have a cigarette. When I got stressed, I had to have a cigarette. These were triggers. These were also habits. So with your triggers, you got to recognize not only your triggers, but you got to also recognize what are your habits. These are the certain behaviors that you probably need to change. For me, instead of getting up and brush my teeth and go immediately to a cigarette, I decided to delay that gratification by waiting 2 hours. At first, it was just 30 minutes. And then, over a course of a week, I got to an hour. And then over the course of the next week, I got to 2 hours or an hour and a half. So every time I got in my car, instead of smoking a cigarette, I decided to eat sunflower seeds. I had to create a new behavior every time that I got stressed or every time I wanted to be triggered with smoking a cigarette. So, and that's what I was about to get to. You want to create a plan to prepare yourself with specific ways that you can deal with your temptation when it arises. Having a strategy in place can empower you to handle difficult situations. And I want to go back to that smoking. For me, sometimes when I got angry, I really wanted to smoke, but when I got angry, I decided to eat more sunflower seeds. And sometimes it's you gotta get a habit that will actually work for your health. I realized that the sunflower seeds, although they helped me stop smoking, but they were also building on unhealthy habit, which created another problem like high blood pressure because of the sodium. So you want to make sure that you don't be like me and put something in its place that's actually going to do more damage to your body, which you're trying to become more healthy. So think about it, be wise about it. And then you want to be able to celebrate your progress, recognize and celebrate your achievements, no matter how small they are. Make sure that you recognize your achievements and celebrate them. I would also say practice self-discipline. In order to deal with your temptation, you have to have some sort of discipline, because without discipline, you're not going to be able to continue to follow through, being able to not give in to your temptations. You got to have discipline. You got to be serious about putting either a new habit in place or just holding off on your immediate gratification on whether or not I don't know what your issue might be as far as your temptation, but you got to be able to delay that gratification, and then eventually you'll be able to leave it all together. So think about that. And for me, the smoking, I've stopped smoking in 2004. So that's like 20 years ago. And believe it or not, I was up to a pack and a half, 2 packs a day. So I'm real happy that I was able to do that. And how I was able to look at that is I had to read up on triggers. I had to read up on changing behaviors. And I had to read up on how I can stop without anything. But that wasn't true. That was actually an unhealthy way of trying to look at it. So what I did was educate myself on looking at triggers, looking at behaviors. Why do I need this cigarette? Why do I need to have it? But eventually I was able to leave the cigarettes. I was able to leave the sunflower seeds, and I no longer dealt with those triggers. Those triggers never were there anymore for me. So Learn from your mistakes is another way I could say. If you give in to temptation, avoid the self-blame and instead focus on what you can learn from the experience. So there is a when you have a temptation and then you give into that temptation, sure, you're going to feel guilty. So you got to remember that those are the things that you want to keep yourself aware of. I hope that I was able to pass on some little wisdom or food for thought for you today about temptation and how you can avoid not giving in to your temptation no matter what it is. Now, some temptations are strong. They are extremely strong. You just have to be stronger. And you are. You know, when you think about it, temptation is just a temptation. You are more powerful than your temptations put together. I don't care how many you have. You are more powerful than any of your temptations. You can achieve them. You can surmount your temptations. You can get over your temptations. All you have to do is do it. You have to prepare for it. And you have to know what your triggers are and prepare for those triggers. I just hit the mic, so sorry about that. But I hope that you guys have a great day. My name is Dave. You're listening to the last podcast. If you want to hit me up, go ahead and send an email out to me at thelastpodcast443@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to conversing with you. Until tomorrow, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.